The 2025 Ram 1500 gets a facelift, which is more than just a few styling changes. It also involves some new features as well as some new engines and a new trim level. As always, I'm going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what it's been like to live with for the past week, and talk about what's new for the 2025 model year. Let's go ahead and take a look. For 2025, Ram has switched up the trim levels a little bit, including dropping that big boy TRX with the supercharged V8. The whole off-road monster is now gone. There are a couple of new trim levels as well. There is a Ramcharger, which is your plug-in hybrid. There is an REV, which is a full EV Ram 1500. There's a Tungsten trim level, which is your like premium super luxury version of this truck. And of course, with new standard features and a facelift, you never get that without a little bit of a bump in price. So across the board, the prices have gone up a little bit. For the tradesman at the base level, you're still looking at only a few $100s more than it was last year, right around $40,000. And then that Tungsten goes up to $86,000. This Ram Rebel here was right around $60,000 last year. Now it starts at $65,000. So quite a big bump there. And with all the options on this particular truck, this one is sitting at $81,000. So a lot of money for this truck for sure, but you do get a lot for it. We'll talk about what you get for that $81,000 as we go through this truck here. Thank goodness for the air suspension on this one so I can actually see over the hood. But one of the biggest changes here for 2025 is under the hood here. It's the powertrains. So the HEMI V8 is now gone completely from the lineup. And this Ram Rebel used to have an option between the Pentastar V6 or that HEMI V8. And actually you can't get the V6, the Pentastar V6 in the Ram Rebel anymore, but you can still get that in some of the other trim levels. There are two new engine options here, which are they're calling it the Hurricane and the Hurricane High Output, not to be confused with the Huracan. There's no Lambo under the hood here, which would be kind of cool. But these are both straight sixes and they are twin turbo, both of them. The high output makes a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more torque than the standard output. This one here is only available with the standard output. The Ram Rebel, it's the standard output Hurricane straight six turbo. That's the SST up here on the hood. And this one makes 420 horsepower, 469 pound-feet of torque. So it does get a pretty big bump from the HEMI V8, since that one was naturally aspirated. It did have the mild hybrid systems, but with the twin turbos on this, actually makes quite a bit more power, quite a bit more torque, and it also makes that torque available way down low in your rev range, and it's a lot more consistent. So this thing can move pretty quickly, and now it can also compete a little bit better with something like an F-150 Raptor or like the Tundra with the iForce Max engine in it. And when you get the Ram Rebel, you can only get it with the 4x4 system. There is a two-wheel drive version of this truck, just not with the Ram Rebel. And the Rebel also comes standard with the electronic locking rear axle. No matter which engine option you choose, you get the 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. It is a traditional auto. Ram calls it the TorqueFlight automatic transmission. And for fuel economy here, fuel economy is typically not awesome in these kinds of trucks, but with it being turbocharged, it does help with the efficiency a little bit over what you would have gotten with the HEMI last year. I'm averaging right around 16 miles per gallon, which is not awesome, but for a full-size truck, it's really not too bad. The air suspension helps a little bit with that as well. Talk about that a little bit more as we go here. Ram Rebel size-wise is going to be pretty comparable to the F-150 and the Silverado. Of course, the GMC Sierra, since that one's basically the same as the Silverado when you get the crew cab and when you get the short box on those. So overall length, you're going to be about the same as those. And this one is only available, actually the Rebel is only available with the 5-foot 7-inch bed and the crew cab. There are other cabs available on some of the other Rams, as well as different size box. There's a 6-foot 4-inch box available on some of the other trim levels, but just not on this Rebel. And then for ground clearance, we're looking at a 1-inch lift when you get the Rebel. Looking at 9.7 inches is your ground clearance typically, but this one has the optional 4-corner air suspension on it, which means that you can put it up into off-road mode and get a 2-inch lift, 10.7 inches of clearance on this one. But right now it's set to the access height, which is pretty cool, because now, me being short, even though this doesn't have runners, which you can option runners, but this one doesn't have them, and me being short, I can still get in and out fairly easily here. And one of the other cool things about this air suspension is that you can lower it from right here on the key fob. So if you got out of the truck and it was in normal or off-road mode or whatever, and you wanted to lower it down to make it easier to get in, you just double tap right here on the key fob. You can lower the truck down, which is definitely a pretty cool feature. So we've got 18s here on this one. The Rebel only comes on 18s. There are no other wheel options for this trim level. Same with the tires. This one is on all terrains. You can only get all terrains on the Rebel, since this is the sort of more off-roady trim level of the truck here. We got the touch to lock from the outside here and touch to unlock from the inside. A keyless access, that is an option on this one. That is not standard. As with these mirrors, these are not the typical mirrors. Usually you just get like the small regular mirrors. This one has the like insert here, so you can see a little bit extra. It also has this camera down here, since this does have the full 360 view option on it. These will power fold, again an option, not standard, but these will power fold. Interestingly, they power fold when you lock, but they don't power unfold when you unlock. But probably not the end of the world if you're the one buying this truck. And then I like this graphics pack. You don't have to get that. That is standard, but you can do a graphics delete, of course, if you don't like it. Nice looking truck for sure. The front end of the Ram 1500 sees some styling updates. You'll notice that the Ram logo is up a little bit. They sort of changed the surround here. We'll get you a side-by-side so you can see that a little bit better. There are also some new LED projector style LED headlights. But this one, being the Rebel, only gets the reflector style LEDs. That's the same ones that this one had last year as well. But you can option the cornering lights, which I love to see. I always recommend optioning the cornering lights. This one has it, and they are worth it if you do a lot of driving at night. They will sort of turn with you as you turn the steering wheel. Really helps with the visibility quite a bit. Lots of real cooling, lots of real venting through here. This front camera here is because it does have the 360 view, the surround view camera option on this particular truck. That is not going to be a standard feature, but it is an option. So lots of real venting, lots of real cooling. This is for your radar detector. The front parking sensors here are going to be optional as well. Fog lights down here, since it's got LED fog lights, LED daytime running lights, and then those reflector style LED headlights. Recovery hooks down here are going to be standard. Really a nice looking front end. I love the contour up through here and the vents. It just has sort of an aggressive look to it, definitely. And then this 1500 SST is going to be your straight 6 turbo, if you're wondering what that means, as I mentioned in the powertrain section. For the back end here, the taillights here have been updated across the board. All trim levels now get these LED jewel style taillights going on here. So it does have the step option, which is pretty nice if you are somebody that's climbing in and out of the bed quite a bit, not in and out of your bed, but in and out of this bed. It'd be nice to have one of these on my bed as well. It is a little bit of a pain to get back up. It's a little bit annoying, but once you get used to it, I'm sure won't be quite so annoying. Still got the big dual exhaust tips, even though it does have a straight 6 instead of that HEMI V8. Got parking sensors across the back of this one, as well as a class 4 trailer hitch. This one tows about 11,400 pounds, which is down slightly from the V6 that you could option last year, and it's down a little over 1,000 pounds from the V8, unfortunately. So if you are someone that is towing more than 12,000 pounds, then this is no longer really a viable option. A little bit frustrating, so you'll have to either go to the one last year, the 2024 or earlier with the V8, or you're going to have to go elsewhere, because a lot of the competition can still tow a little bit more than this one can. But for the most part, most people probably aren't towing over 11,000 pounds, but if you are, you'll have to go elsewhere. One thing that's pretty cool back here is this one has this little hookup here for a camera, so you can put an auxiliary trailer camera on here, which will feed into the digital rear view mirror, which we'll talk about a little bit more during the interior part. But that's a pretty cool setup there, where you can have those extra cameras added in. Then we've got lights through here, so if you're trying to hook up your trailer at night, you do have some lights there. and your spare is mounted underneath there, of course. And this one has the automatic tailgate, this powered tailgate, which is really nice, so you won't smack your knees on the tailgate. You can also open that with the key here. Just double tap right there, and that will open up. You can also close it with that, which is pretty cool. And then this one has the bed utility group, which gets you the spray and bed liner. It gets you these cleats on the side, gets you a 115 over there on the side as well. And we've got some lights in here as well. So there's some lights on the sides here of the bed as well as up there. So if you are loading and unloading stuff at night, then you do have those extra lights, which is nice. And then there are a couple of D hooks all around. We got 4 D hooks all around. Now there is a storage system, a lockable storage system you can option. You have to get one of the boring paint colors. Unfortunately, it's not available with the red for some reason, but you do get a lockable storage solution that will sort of be in the side of the bed over here. Back seats here are absolutely massive, 45 inches of legroom, best in class. These do fold up as well, so if you need a little bit of extra storage space, there's a tiny bit under here, not a ton. And then this little guy does fold down here. And then hopping in, you do have the grab bar here. You can pull yourself up if you're short like me. But like I said, massive amounts of room. Got cup holders up here, got cup holders in here, cup holders everywhere. Plenty of room here. So now has the dual pane sunroof, so it goes all the way back to the back passenger. Tons of space. It's like a living room couch back here. I've had forward facing seats back here all week, had no issues at all. Rear facing seats are not going to be a problem either. So if you got kids, if you're hauling kids around, not a problem at all in this thing. The inside, I'm glad they have this grab handle here. A lot of trucks for some reason don't have the grab handle on the driver's side. Even though you can drop it down to access height, it's still helpful to have this to get in, especially if you leave it in normal height. You just want to hop in and out. That grab handle is very nice. So interior is very nice as well. I mean, this one is loaded out to just over $80,000. So, you know, a lot of this stuff is optional, but it is very, very nice in here. Nice massive steering wheel. All this red trim all over the place is unique to the Rebel trim level here. And you don't have to get that. There are a couple of black options and a couple of black with red options. The base is going to be a cloth with all the red all over, and then this one has like the leather trimmed with the red all over. And when you go through the configurator, it looks like it's super bright red in your face, but here in person it's not. Actually, it's like a much darker red, so that's good to note there. One of the biggest changes here on the interior is last year there was a 10.5 inch screen was going to be your base. You had a 12-inch screen that was optional. Now this year the 12-inch screen is your base and the 14-inch is optional. This one has the 14-inch in it. I thought it was going to be super annoying, like in your face, like kind of, you know, a lot of times I don't like these big tacked on tablets, but this one being vertical and being inset into here actually does help quite a bit with it not being so like in your face. And they leave a lot of physical buttons here, so like your climate control, your fan, and your temperature are nice and easy to get to here with physical buttons. They'll have a physical volume knob over here and tuner. You can turn the screen off really nice and easily. All the trailering packages on it, it does have some trailering controls down here that are always available. Your parking assist features are always available. It has the air suspension. The up-down options for your air suspension are always available. And this nice shortcut at the bottom here with all your different vehicle settings. There is so much buried in here. I could spend so much time just on the infotainment, but I'll try to hit the highlights here. It does have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, wireless, standard. Your heated and ventilated seats are through here. You have to click a couple of times, but it's always there at the top, as well as the heated steering wheel is buried in here as well. But this is super customizable in here. Like you can like set these different panes. So I have my Android Auto at the top, and then at the bottom you can like pick what you want. When you want to see your suspension, your pitch, you put some other shortcuts in there, your seat information. You want that to be more easily accessible. And then in the vehicle area, you can set all your driver's assist features, all your safety features. If those are getting in the way, you can adjust them. Or if they're not aggressive enough, you can adjust them. If your teenager's driving the truck or whatever, and you want them to be more aggressive, everything is customizable in here. All kinds of trailering information. You have these off-road pages to see your pitch, your roll, your suspension setup, all the different cameras. There are so many cameras in here, and you can even customize like what's your favorite camera and set up what your favorite camera is so you can easily access that all the time. There are curb cameras, there are cameras in the mirrors, there's cameras in the front and the back. There's the one that feeds this, that feeds this digital mirror here, plus the fact that you can feed another camera on top of a trailer if you want an auxiliary camera. Plus you can add other auxiliary cameras and tie those into here. It is crazy how many cameras are in here, but if you're doing grocery store runs, if you're doing daycare drop-offs, school runs, it is so much more peace of mind having all of those cameras. Like when there's kids running around, there's people all around because this truck is big. So then there's the passenger screen. So the passenger has their own screen in this car, which is like, I guess, a class exclusive thing. There aren't any other full-size trucks out there right now that have a screen over there. But what that allows the passenger to do is they can hook up, they've got an HDMI here. They can watch a movie on their laptop, put it up through there. I don't know why you would go from your laptop into your car, but there is a nav, and then you can see all the camera views as well. So if you're at like a spotter or something, then you can see all the camera views. So that's the screens over there, and then you got the big cluster over here, which again, you have so much information. You can set this to like a standard view, you can set it to like a more minimalistic view. You can see all different kinds of information about your driver's assist settings. You can see where your fuel economy is. You can see all your different safety, driver's assist, your service information, your tire pressure. There's so much information buried in here. And then there's the heads-up display as well, which you can adjust, like whether you want to have a ton of information in your heads-up display or if you just want to keep it simple. There's really not a whole lot that will go into there. Or if you have your nav running, that'll go in. Tons of displays that are intuitive. There's tons of information in them. They're easy to use, and they still left a lot of physical controls here. So that is great. Everybody does their own thing with the gear shifts. This one's a knob, but if you are going to change the radio station or something, or change your song or change your volume, make sure you're not grabbing the transmission while you're on the highway. And then you have a trail control, which is like off-roading cruise control, almost like just sort of a slow crawl where you don't have to keep your foot on the gas all the time. Steering wheel laid out great, nice big massive steering wheel here. Buttons laid out well for your adaptive cruise, and this one has the lane centering on it, which we'll talk about during the drive. Going through the different stuff through here, you can do that on the steering wheel, and then on the back is your tuning and your volume. Love when they do that. Just gets you a little bit extra, space here, so it's not quite so cluttered on the front. Here down at the bottom, you have your different drive modes. You can cycle through like an off-road mode, a sport mode. There are a few different driving modes. I've just been leaving it in normal most of the time, but you can sort of play around with those different modes, which will adjust your steering a little bit. It'll adjust sort of how the transmission responds to different situations and such. This one does have memory seats, so those are on the side here. You can adjust the pedal position over here on the side. This one does have auto headlights, which are nice and easy to get to over here. Harman Kardon sound system. This one has the 19-speaker Harman Kardon sound system optioned. Sounds pretty nice. I'm sure it's better than the 9-speaker Alpine. This one has the dual pane sunroof option, so you can open and close that through here. You can tilt it as well if you want to actually get some air coming in here. And then this massive area here. So this slides forward and back. So there's a ton of space underneath here. There's a 115 down here. There's a little hidden cubby. There are 2 wireless chargers here, so you and your passenger can both charge your phones, or you can charge your work phone and your personal phone, whatever. You got some space in here. You got more space down there, which I can fit my whole water bottle in. Some conversions up here, as well as a protractor, which is a pretty cool little thing. I love when automakers do that. They actually just add in useful stuff in places where something like, otherwise this would just be black with no real purpose. But here they found a spot to put some extra information, put some extra stuff if you are using this as a work truck. And then down underneath here, again, we have like a little nod to all the Rams of the past, which is a pretty cool little touch there. But the only real issue I have with this interior is these seats are not the most supportive. So after driving in this car for like an hour or so, it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. I wish the base had a little bit more cushion. I wish the bolsters were a little bit more aggressive. So you are kind of bouncing around a little bit, even though this one does have a pretty smooth ride for a big truck like this. You are still kind of bouncing around a little bit. You can get massage seats in the Tungsten trim. This one does not have the massage seats, but you do have power adjustability here. You have memory. You can adjust the lumbar support as well. So the seats are decent. They're just, I wish they were a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more supportive. But generally speaking, this interior, super nice. While everything remains like intuitive, tons of storage, tons of cup holders everywhere. The infotainment works great. Just very well done interior overall here. As always, I've been driving this truck around for the whole last week here, doing my daily drive to my actual day job, as well as driving the kids around. And, I've gotten, 350 miles. I still haven't had to fill up the tank. This says I still have 115 miles of range left. So, it's not that it's getting awesome fuel economy. I'm right around 16 on average, 16 miles per gallon on average, but has this 33-gallon tank. So at least I can make it like more than a week, including doing errands and stuff on the weekends. That's nice. I wouldn't want to have to fill up this tank every week. But it is nice that, you can actually go a decent mile without having to stop at gas stations all the time. So the big change here for 2025, the engine is really the biggest thing. If you're somebody that likes big V8s, the HEMI, there is something special about the HEMI engine. I haven't driven the Ram 1500 with the HEMI, but I've driven other cars with that engine in it. And it makes power differently. There's more of this like build. There's a little bit more ceremony. And it's quick, but you have to get into it before you can really feel that quickness kick in. Whereas this one, this straight six, even with the standard output, this thing is quick, and it's quick early in your rev range, which is something I really like about these twin turbo straight sixes. Is like with those turbochargers, your torque is available way down low in your rev range, and your peak torque is available way down low in your rev range, and then you have that peak for a long time before it dies off. So there's less of a build and more of just once those turbos kick in, it is quick now, and it can get out of its own way now. Has not been typical for big trucks like this, especially outside of the Raptor, the Ram TRX, the Raptor R, those kinds of trucks. So now this is just your standard Ram 1500 engine here. And this is not even the high output. This is the standard output. So I imagine the high output, even quicker. When you start getting into these trucks that have more power, you got to be able to stop quickly. It's momentum is a hell of a drug here. And this thing is big, it's heavy, and it's quick now. It can stop fine. These brakes are very confident, and I'm very surprised at how quickly they get you stopped. They're very good brakes. So really love to see that just from a safety perspective here. It's not going to stop like a sports car on a dime, but it's pretty darn close. And then this one has the air suspension on it as well, which actually does help with some of the aerodynamics too, which is kind of cool. So that helps me get to that 16 mile per gallon average here. So I am doing a lot of highway driving. The highway driving is actually averaging, much higher than that 16 miles per gallon. You can watch it fluctuate here. I'm getting 25, 30 a lot of the time on the highway, because with the air suspension, once you start going highway speeds, it will actually drop the truck down a little bit. So it's a little bit more aerodynamic, so that you can get an air dam on the front if you want to get a front air dam, but this one with the air suspension, it's just lowered down, so you get less of that turbulence underneath the truck. Glad to see coil springs on this, even if you don't have the air suspension. I haven't experienced this particular truck without air suspension, but also being a full size, and being on those coil springs should help it quite a bit, because it has that nice big long wheelbase. And then that's pretty much it driving wise here. It's not going to take corners on rails. It's a big heavy truck, not to be expected there. It does have a sport mode. The sport mode actually turns off your traction control, so I think that's a little bit... I haven't really messed with that too much because the normal mode really, honestly, gets out of its own way just fine. But the steering is plenty confident enough in normal mode, and this thing can get out of its own way just fine in normal mode. So really haven't had to go in that mode really too often here. And in terms of like for the daily drive gear, it's got all these like cameras, and then big tow mirrors on this one are really helpful. Like, I know a lot of people aren't into like all the extra stuff, all the extra tech in their big trucks, but realistically, like, you know, I'm driving kids around, like I'm dropping my kids off at school, I'm like going to grocery stores that are super packed and stuff, like, and then even on the highway too, having these cameras is super helpful. Just like there's somebody in your blind spot, having these extra mirrors here, like you have full visibility of everything going on. And then this one also has adaptive cruise on it. This one does have the driver's assist package on top of like the standard stuff. You get a lot of stuff standard, but this one's like loaded out, all the driver's assist stuff. And this one has like a lane centering on it, which this is my first time with a Stellantis lane centering system. And so the adaptive cruise works really well, and then mixed with the lane centering on the highways, like really does a pretty good job. There have been a couple areas where like it's on like a little bit of a hill and like going through a curve where it sort of started to drift left a little bit more than I would have liked it to. But honestly, a lot of the systems do that. So definitely like kinks to be worked out there, but for like 99% of the driving, it's been really great on the highway. It really does a pretty good job of staying centered in that lane and keeping good distance front to back with the person in front. Whereas my only issue with the cameras here, when you turn on your turn signal, you get a camera feed through here that is like of your what's going on in your mirror, like straight back. I wish it wasn't over here, because if I'm turning left, if I'm switching lanes left, I don't want to turn my head to the right. You know, I feel like I should be turning my head left or keeping my head straight, which is why I really like the Hyundai system, where they put those camera feeds in the gauge cluster instead. So really, I mean, this driving experience overall has been great. It's like, you know, it's technically not like a luxury truck. That would be the Tungsten trim all the way at the top, but it rides really nice. It's surprisingly quiet, spacious. Really, the driving experience here is great. And having all the cameras and like the extra safety stuff also, like if you're using this as a fleet truck, maybe you have people driving this truck that aren't like so used to driving a big truck like this, then this will definitely help them like sort of get their bearings a little bit. And then if you are actually somebody taking this thing off-road, then all the cameras definitely help you sort of place things a little bit better. At the end of the day, this Ram Rebel is very nice to live with. It's spacious, it's comfortable, it's got lots of great features. It even has these big knobby tires if you do want to take it off-road. And it's quick. This new engine is plenty quick. I know a lot of people love their naturally aspirated V8. This one's more fuel efficient. It's quicker. The torque is available down lower in the rev range. This air suspension on this thing is so comfortable. All the cameras and the mirrors and maybe seem like a little bit overkill, but honestly, they're very, very helpful features if you're doing school runs, daycare drop-offs, going around grocery stores. You're going around people a lot that are going to be a lot lower than this truck. Or if you are taking this off-road, you want to be able to see all the rocks and stuff all around you. Or if you've got a trailer on it, you can get that camera on the back. It's just a very nicely set up truck and is loaded out for sure. But with all those features comes a very high price tag, $81,000. If you want something that's more of a luxury truck, the Tungsten trim's only $86,000. So it's pretty close to that. That Tundra Capstone I was in was right around $80,000, and that one was a little bit more luxury leaning. But if you want that combo and you really want everything, this thing has everything. I am kind of curious to see how this is without all this extra stuff on it. It would be really nice to see just a regular Ram Rebel, or even better, like a Tradesman, and see how this does at the base level as like just a work truck. But it's really hard to argue with this package. and just how comfortable, how easy to live with this thing has been for the last week. Let me know what you think down in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.